Okay, everybody ready?
We're still missing, Rick.
Oh, Rick. There he is. Okay. Okay, everybody, welcome. And for tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting at Council Chambers, and I'd like to start with the Aboriginal Acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Tanaha, the Silix and the Sinix peoples, and is home to Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honour their connection to the land, rivers, and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. And with that, I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda, please, unless there are late items. Moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Page, and we have one letter that came to us that's for the public participation. Sorry?
Adjustment of item 8C to be removed.
Yeah, we have to delete that. 8C will be deleted from the menu tonight. Okay. All in favour? Carried. Thanks very much. And I'd like a motion to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting from September 29th, Special Committee of the Whole, and September 29th Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as well. Councillor Renwick, second by Councillor Page. All in favour? Carried. Public participation. And this is the portion of our meeting where we have 15 minutes total for the public to present to council, and I believe we have a delegation tonight to speak to this document that we have on our plate. I just want to let you know ahead of time, this is a bit late coming to us, and so I read it here, and there's a fair bit of detail that's going to have to be answered. So I don't know who your spokesperson is.
Thank John, there's the two of us.
Okay, so you'll have to, one of you can take the chair with the microphone, whoever wishes to speak. If both of you wish to speak, you'll have to switch chairs.
Sure.
But you sit on the one beside you, yeah. It's just a social distancing thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just have to let you know that you have a maximum amount of 5 minutes to speak to your subject, and we try and stick to that, and just stick to what you have on your letter here as well, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. First, hello, councillors, mayor. Thanks for hearing us tonight. So I'm Andrew. My wife Catherine is back there. We live on 913 Willow Street, and
I'm Kathleen Newdorf. My partner is Heather Yule back there. We live at 1213 Latimer Street.
we're surprisingly neighbors. So we're coming tonight, and I have discussed this in the past with some other members of the council about access to our homes, along with sort of some of the maintenance with the city. I wanted to give just a brief background. We purchased about six undeveloped lots about 12 or 13 years ago. And if you can see on the back side of that page, I just show a brief map of where we're located. We're just located up below the rail trail at the very top of Mill Street, adjacent to the Braderwood condos. So with the input from the city, so including the city engineer, the person in charge of public works at the time, we developed the access along what would be the city back alley between Mill Street and Latimer Street to originally access our one house. About 6 years ago, we sold one of the adjacent lots, so we had our neighbor Kathleen moved in. At that time, so prior to that, we didn't really have any city maintenance on the one street called Willow Street, along with the alley up to our road. So about 6 years ago, Karen, who was a public works manager, then she arranged for at least some plowing of part of so Willow Street, not going up her back alley, so we had a bit of maintenance, along with a little bit of support, just improving the access to our house. We're on an especially steep lot, which has just been especially difficult in the winter. There's ongoing erosion issues. We have gravel running along Willow Street, going out onto Mill Street. And so since that time, about last year, I think a few years ago, the public works manager changed. That was Craig. Still, even with him, we had a little bit of maintenance done to our back alley, down to the access. And in part, what sort of gave me the encouragement just to have, go forward and meet with council was, since then, the public works manager has since even changed. Now there's a new person, Howard, in charge, who actually came up. We met with him because we've been trying to arrange different meetings with the city to deal with some sort of long-term solution to our road and accessing our homes. And he met with us. He followed up with a phone call with me last week, relaying really to not expect much city support and or help with either just having our road graded even prior to the winter. So here we are meeting. So Kathleen's going to talk a little bit about some of the issues and what we're hoping from the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
We're tag teaming this. So I just wanted to point out that the current condition of the road, it's not good. It's really deeply rutted. A lot of gravel is now currently living on Mill Street, which is also a danger to anyone walking up and down Mill Street, and also the cars have to slow down. Our primary concerns are emergency vehicle access up to our two houses. There's a third lot up just past my house, which is also accessed by this place. It has just sold and will be developed within the next year or two. So emergency vehicle access is a little frightening. There's a lot of people that access the railway grade from this access. Last year, my tenant broke his rib on the road. There's a lot of children, school groups that come up. Wildflower often uses that as a way of getting up to the railway grade and into the forest. A lot of people on bikes, just a lot of people. The one day we counted about 20 people in about a half-hour period. So I know there's at least 100 people up and down every day. On weekends, the traffic's even more busy. So we're concerned about our own getting up and down the road, of course, emergency vehicles, people up and down. The city also spends a lot of money cleaning the gravel off the road on Mill Street and even down on Cherry Street. Just reiterating what Andrew said, we'd like to work with you to see if there's anything that could be done to improve the quality of this access.
So just for everyone's interest and while you're at just where you are, so looking at the map here, where exactly on the map are you in relationship to Willow Street?
So Willow Street comes off Mill.
Yeah,
It's a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Then there's a 90-degree angle straight up. And so this is, on the lower part, it's the back alley between Latimer Street and Mill Street. So it extends up towards railway grade.
right.
Their house is on Willow, and then you go up the alley, and then I'm on Latimer, which is my backyard, but there's so steep, there's no road there. There's no Latimer Street there.
They would be on Latimer,
Yeah.
if Latimer went.
But we're not.
Councillor Renwick?
Thank you. So your access is actually Willow Street, or an alleyway off of Willow, which isn't, Willow's not shown on the map because I understand Willow's further down, correct?
Willow Street is actually, it's divided a number of times throughout the city, so
Right.
There's one that's close down to Safeway, and then there's.
But officially, Willow Street, but to get to your home, you actually have to use the alleyway, correct?
Yes.
And is there more than yourself that uses that?
The lot just above me will have to use exactly the same access.
And this is going to be the new build?
Mhm.
Okay.
And Cal, we also have to access it via the back
Okay.
alley.
I drove up on Saturday afternoon
Okay.
to have a look around because I remember your email. And I'm looking for this alley, and I'm sorry, I couldn't find it. And I was trying to reference your email, and I apologize whether I deleted it or whatever. But I thought, oh, how hard can it be to find it? Well, it's pretty hard, so I'm sorry, but okay, because I just want in my mind to know where this was. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier to find. You can put in, we have a vacation rental Willow Guest. We can see it pop up there on the Google Maps because it's not that far away from yours.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
So I see on your, Rick's got it on Google Maps there or something.
Yeah, that's the Willow Street part of it.
Yeah. So you have, I noticed in your letter here, your goal is to work with the city to have a long-term plan to provide safe and sustainable access to your homes. And so we'll have to turn this over to Kevin and have that conversation with you. we have a number of corridors in the city very similar to this, and there's not many options for upgrading other than a partnership with the owners of the property to partner with them to pay for the upgrades of the roads over a period of time. So that's an option that may be available to you to get a proper surface on the road, etc. So, but our staff will have a look at this and see what the options are. Some of these streets, the one you just suggested, and like Cal, I took a look myself, and they're a little more complicated than they look on paper, to say the least. So if that's okay with you, you've made your case tonight, and we will definitely follow up with you and let you know what are some of the options for potentially upgrading or not to the street, or who would be responsible for any of those costs.
Okay, thank
That
you
okay?
very much for hearing us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other folks in the audience that wish to speak? We're not, we're definitely not, we can take more than one. We can have 2 or 3. We have 15 minutes to do this, and we have another 4 or 5 minutes left, so.
Will the wood co-op?
You're on the agenda.
You're on the agenda. Yeah, yeah,
You're in anyways.
yeah. Okay, so as a matter of fact, you're the next one up, so. All right, so delegations, and the first one on the agenda is the wood co-op.
We do have some brochures. Is that
Yeah, absolutely. Just
Absolutely.
pass them to Councillor Woodward there, and he'll send them around to everybody. Thank you. And just tell us who you are, where you live, and what you want to talk about. We
Yeah.
have your information more or less.
You
in front
heard
of
us,
us here.
great? Perfect. Yeah, my name's Brian Macarthur.
Thanks, Janice.
I'm representing the
Excuse me, catch your name.
Brian Macarthur,
Brian McGirt, thank you.
and I'm representing the West Arm Woodworking Co-op. It's kind of exciting. I've been personally working on this project for over 6 years now, and we're actually getting to the point where we want to find a space. So I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about the co-op. Right after, I'm going to get B here to actually speak a little bit about the arts co-op, because we're working synergistically, and it might be really beneficial for us to team up on a space. So the West Arm Woodworking Co-op is actually going to be kind of a community workshop. So anybody from the public can come in, take workshops, learn how to woodwork, and there will be a mentor on the floor all the time actually helping people complete their projects. On top of that, kind of the reason why I personally started wanting to move in this direction was I went through the fine woodworking course at Selkirk, and it's this beautiful course. Really, Nelson is producing world-class woodworkers, and the sad part is that every year almost none of those woodworkers actually continue on with woodworking because overhead is so high, and it's really hard to get into that industry without having a lot of capital. So really it's exciting because we can be a stepping stone for that program. We want to have a kind of our own brand of furniture and wood products that we distribute to kind of larger markets, and actually employ people coming out of Selkirk and apprentice them and prepare them for careers in whatever directions they want to go in woodwork. So I'll just tell you a few things about the co-op. Really accessibility and affordable shop space, workshops, that on-site mentorship, really the collaborative environment too. If somebody's just doing woodwork in their basement, it only goes so far, but when you're in a room full of people that are excited about doing what they do, it's a completely different experience. And I really got that from that woodworking course as well. Everybody just made amazing stuff, and it was really everybody feeding off of each other. We've got quite a few different revenue streams, and so we've kind of completed our feasibility plan, pretty much have our business plan done, and all the numbers look quite good. We put out a survey, and the response was actually staggering. The interest is huge for this. So yeah, I'm extremely excited about this project. We started to look for a space and realized that all the commercial space that was available was actually too large for us. And we're looking for kind of between 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. And that's when I met B and Andrea and started working with them on the Kootenai Arts Co-op. And so I'm just gonna hand it over to B.
Cool. So, sorry, get in front of the mic. Yeah, so hi, I'm B. Schroeder. I've been working on the Arts Co-op project for, it's been in my mind for years, but about a year and a half now. And just to clarify how the Arts Co-op and the Wood Co-op sort of are connected, the Arts Co-op would sort of be the larger structure that the Wood Co-op could sort of rent the space from. So the idea would be that it would be kind of a co-op within a co-op. So they would be a member of the Arts Co-op. We don't have a lot of time, so there's a lot of detail on the Arts Co-op. Hopefully there's some answers in the pamphlet, and I also love talking about this project, so feel free to contact me. In my own search to find suitable workspace in Nelson, I'm a glassblower. And through countless conversations with other local artists, it was made very clear to me that there is a real need to develop affordable space for the visual arts community to work, to connect with each other, and also to access art business like support professionals. In addition to addressing this need, there are many benefits that this arts co-op could bring to the city of Nelson. The arts and heritage sector plays a significant economic role in Nelson. In an earlier report, it was found that over half of that impact is attributable to the visual arts sector alone. So it's a good chunk of the pie, I think. The Arts Co-op will help to retain those artists in town by to help retain the artists that create that value by keeping the costs to doing business affordable. The majority of tourists list arts and culture as a major reason for their visit to Nelson. Imagine if these visitors could watch the magic of the process of creation, or even get to create for themselves. This would leave a lasting impression that's not possible in a typical retail or gallery kind of setting. Think like Columbia Basin Culture Tour, but year-round and centralized, kind of like Granville Island. I think there's a real opportunity here to further develop the Nelson experience economy by including the visual arts in this sort of a way. With access to affordable workspace, creative businesses could move out of the home, freeing up residential spaces, spare rooms, garages. In my case, I would love to build a suite in my basement, but it's the only place I can afford to work. As we work through our planning process, we also intend to explore the possibility of live-work spaces within the co-op. And then finally, the Railtown Sustainable Neighborhood Action Plan identified the manufacturing of artisan goods as a development opportunity for the Railtown neighborhood. So in closing, the Kootenai Arts Co-op will be like a creative hub for Nelson and an incubator for art businesses, from light industrial craft like woodworking, glassblowing, all the way to fine art. It will be a safe and affordable space for artists, makers, KSA graduates, hobbyists, and really any creative entrepreneur that wants to grow and engage with their community. So creating such a space, I think, will increase the impact of the visual arts community on tourism and economic development for Nelson and the wider Kootenai region. And then I hope the pamphlet explains a little more what we're hoping to do, but did you have anything else to say there?
Yeah, so we will be putting in a formal request to ask
Okay, so we have a few questions here. We start with Councillor Renwick, Councillor Page, and then Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. So you just answered my first question about your request. If in your, I'm assuming that you've looked around and you said, Brian, that you need 3,000 square feet. How much more for the arts?
So we're going to be doing a feasibility study in the coming month. We're working with a consultant and we have a survey that's ready to go. The problem is we don't have a ton of information. The report that sort of looked at this last was in 2003, and so there's not great data on it, but we know that there's a lot of artists in the region. So once we get those numbers, we'll really be able to solidify the size of space that we need. But we're we expect, like even just based on who's been interested so far, at least 5,000, possibly up to 8,000 square feet.
Just for,
the arts side.
oh, wow.
So
we're aiming for around maybe 15,000.
Okay, so you've been looking, I'm assuming you've looked around. Tell me where in the area would be the perfect spot for this? Because I really like this idea, especially the woodworking part.
Honestly, the huge dream.
Oh yeah.
It's the huge dream, but it's the old Nelson Home Furniture.
Oh my god, that's what I was
Oh, yeah.
thinking. Yeah, totally.
We
Okay.
went and looked at it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What's it like inside? What's it like inside?
It's a big open space.
Yeah,
It would
smoky.
need so much work. Yeah.
It needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
It does. It
It's
needs
a
a
ton.
new roof, so
Need the
that's
roof,
a big
yeah.
project.
It's immediately twice as much as what you paid for it to get it even
Yeah.
livable, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
We also spent quite, I think that this would have been 3 years ago. We talked, I think, with you, the city too, about the Coke and Gasworks building. That would be the size for the woodworking co-op, and we toured around. We looked at some of the factors, and then I think the revitalization on the outside kind of took place, and then that kind of, I don't know where that.
Yeah, we just heard that the city wasn't sure whether they were going to sell the building or keep the building, so that kind of went on pause there.
Right.
And then I guess school district 57 building outside of city limits. Right now that's for sale.
It's sold.
It is
Yeah.
sold. Oh darn.
It is.
Take it back.
Yeah.
Okay, so Councillor Page, you had a comment or question?
I had a comment and a question. So yes, my question was also around, is there an ask? Because I, like Councillor Renwick, I love this idea, and I do anecdotally understand that there's a great need for woodworking space because not a lot of people have access to garages or shops or various other things where they would actually apply this trade. My comment would be, we have heard, not recently, but in the last 2 years here, about maybe the possibility and need of a arts and culture economic impact study. And it seems like these two things should be somehow tied together in terms of, I'm hearing you guys have a lack of access to raw economic data on what impact this would have to inform your feasibility study. And I think Joy over the CDC had been wanting or advocating for the need for an arts and culture impact economic study. I think the 2003 report you're talking about might be the
Yeah.
same piece. So you guys will return asking for either a letter of support or help accessing land or
Yeah.
finding candidates for land.
Exactly. We actually were going
does
to
that come?
include it, but yeah, we realized that this isn't.
Councillor Anderson,
Yeah, I know, I love the idea. I think it sounds
keep that in mind. You heard that?
Yeah.
We've been doing this all night. We've already got a long one.
By the way, we're recording this.
You have to wait. No, I love the idea. I think it sounds beautiful, and I can just imagine that. It's funny when you guys were talking about that. I was thinking exactly of that building because you can see right into it. It's right close to like the art school, and it's one of those places that becomes that draw, and that that building is just sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
But have you also connected with Sydney Black and the Nelson and District Arts
Yes.
Council? Okay,
Yes.
so she's a magic woman.
She's in full support of this project. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you're in contact with her.
Well,
Thank
hasn't
you.
the KSA been?
KSA is not the art center anymore.
Yeah, that's freeing up.
KSA.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Lochtenberg, and then Councillor Woodward. Oh, sorry, I've seen you for, doesn't matter, either one of you. Choose between.
Yeah, I'll just be really quick. This sounds also like, have you talked to the NAEDP?
Yeah.
And community futures.
Yeah.
They should help on that.
The which?
The Nelson and Area Economic Development Partnership. It's,
No.
And Community Futures would be another one to connect with.
yeah.
Okay, Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. I was just wondering, if, so it's a co-op, so obviously you get a membership. I'm just wondering about how the revenue stream would work to keep things going.
For the wood co-op?
Yeah.
The revenue streams, one will be shop time, of course. The other is workshops. We've got a partnership with Harris Proctor Mill, so we'll actually be selling wood products for them as well. And that's also, locally sourced, ethically harvested wood right there for everybody to work on their projects with. So that's amazing.
As well as, yeah, like contracts coming in through the co-op is because I guess like it's a for-profit workers co-op unless it's changed.
Yeah.
So one of the options is as a worker member, you have first rights to contracts, say for one of the Catski lodges wants to redo all their cabinets and all order 15 tables and a whole set of chairs. Those contracts come through the woodworking co-op, and then as the workers, they are employees working, generating revenue that goes to them, as well as also the co-op through the different revenue streams. So there's kind of multiple levels that you'd be getting revenue, and then workshops and
Can I just ask one supplemental?
Yep, certainly.
And so to build up all the equipment that would be needed for all this, how would that happen?
We've already got some of the equipment.
the least of our worries.
Yeah, really, funding seems like it is available. So that's gonna be fine. It's really finding the site size space.
Thank you.
Have been the big roadblock the last couple of years. And then, because as soon as we can secure or confirm a space, then we can start moving forward with membership drives and securing the different levels, which then kind of, and doing more outreach in the community to say, like, we have this space, like, how would you like to be involved? And we can't do that without, we just can't, yeah. We can't have people buying memberships if we can't
Yeah.
guarantee them having a space to come work in,
That's
so.
fair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things that come to mind. A few of them were touched on already. Suggestions like Community Futures is somewhere to start with. The Economic Development Partnership, you might want to touch base with them. The other, have you talked with the college about complementing their courses and how that would fit?
Yeah,
And
I know them quite well.
last but not least, for us here, our goal over a number of years has been the Cultural Development Committee is our sort of go-to place when we want to get involved in cultural initiatives. And they would have to play an important role on the piece that you're talking about for sure, because the reason that was established in the first place is because we always had these splinter groups coming, and everybody had a different reason why they were more important than the last one that came. So if you can work with Joy Barrett, you probably have a better chance of being able to appeal to a bigger picture, not only to the city but also the regional district and the Columbia Basin Trust, etc. as well. So that's probably something you should look at, and that would apply actually to what you're doing as well on the woodworking side, is to work through the Cultural Development Committee, Community Futures, and maybe get something official from the college as to how you sort of integrate it with them a little bit. And then as far as space goes, we had a conversation earlier tonight about space in our community for commercial endeavors, and it's really tight, and the properties that are out there are not coming cheap.
Yeah.
So there's a whole budget side of it that has to be factored in as well. But I understand what you're talking about. I've known people that have taken the course at Selkirk College, and they have that course, they've done it, they've made a clock or a cedar canoe or whatever, and that's it.
Yeah.
I did the program about 7 years ago.
And some of the displays they've had over the years, the furniture that's been produced there has been outstanding. to say the least, so,
A lot of talent coming through.
yeah, I can understand where you're going.
Including this furniture here.
Including this here,
Oh, really?
Right here.
yeah. Tell you an interesting story, but this furniture was also made for the mayor's office as well.
Oh, yeah.
And when they moved from the old city hall to the new one, the movers had to put the top on after they put the base down. And the guy that got the screws got too long of screws and he shot them up through the top. He's lying on the floor going zip, 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 and the screws are coming up through the top, so I had to get a new one made. But this is an example of the wood that was, this is an example of that fine woodworking class. And, I hope you got some idea that, we're always excited to see new ventures. And as Councillor Page mentioned, we probably should dust off the old impact of arts and culture to our community study that was done 2004-3, was it?
I think that's the one they're referencing.
And we know that it was significant, but maybe it should be updated too as well.
I
So,
know Andy Grace was kind of looking at how to, I think they were gonna apply for some grants to
update that, yeah.
One question, does the city own any land down in the rail town?
We actually do, yeah. Well, that's the
Get in line.
challenge, right?
We can't make decisions at this meeting.
There's a lot of people out there that would take free land, but it has a value to the taxpayers of the community, and we have to get fair market value for it, so. But we would take fair market value. So,
Well, let us know how much that is.
Yeah, it'd be mixed use though, you'd
Yeah.
see housing.
yeah.
attached to it.
So, because the vision for down there is a mixed-use concept, so in other words, you could have an artisan downstairs with living upstairs, but it would have to be, at market, it just wouldn't be a hobby, it would be a business that you'd be running to sustain yourself and and the building that you'd build, so,
But yeah, we could certainly talk about
yeah.
if it's a for market, as soon as you said there's for profit here,
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
municipalities are restricted from, assisting for profit businesses.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to give anything away or, but certainly could, there's the vision for that piece of land, actually one of our planning staff is actually just working on that as we speak of what the options are there.
We have not decided for the arts co-op yet, if we're gonna go for profit or not for profit, so,
But hey, take my word for it, go for profit. The other one doesn't work.
But I think the important thing is to distill that ask down into a letter. Like ask us either for the letter of support or to help find land or planning around that, and then at least we can evaluate it at a business meeting to see if that's something we do or do not support, or if there's middle pieces here that need to be fulfilled, those can probably be provided with more clarity, like do we need to send it to CDC for 2 years to get a feasibility study done in conjunction, as opposed to,
And there are avenues, like that is the job of economic development to support,
Yeah.
Those ventures that you're looking at, so.
Right.
We do have those avenues, so as the mayor and others had said, use those.
right.
Yeah.
They are, those are getting funding from the city to move things like this forward, so make sure you use those.
Yeah, and I think it's important because a lot of people leave this chamber thinking, we're just giving them this and send them out of here just to get you out of the way. But in actual fact, if you do reach out to Joy or Community Futures or even the chamber for that matter,
Tom Thompson.
Thompson, those are the avenues where you can get connected to properties and funding.
We've connected with Tom on a number of occasions.
Yeah, good, excellent. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and you're welcome to come back and see us, or if you wanted to make an appointment to speak with Kevin or Colin here, by all means do so. But definitely talk to Joy and good luck finding a space. You got a great idea there.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
know what
Yeah,
you're talking
I think
about.
it's a great idea.
Yeah, and our planning staff as well, as far as zoning and all those things around, if you're looking at building, they certainly help you on that side of it as well.
Okay.
Like I said, I know they're looking at, that Railtown lands right now, it's not defined fully at this stage. So these kind of ideas, they'd make sure they would include that in the options that would be suitable for those lands.
Okay, thanks very much.
I also sent you the email of the people that bought the building, the S8 building, in case they have extra space.
yeah, we went and looked at that.
In a month or so, you can phone Brittany and Victoria there.
Yeah.
She'll-
She'll stroke you the check.
Guys,
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
thank you guys. Prism. Yeah. Or valid. Yeah, they're the same
Did
thing.
they buy it?
It's the same person. So it's valid.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, onward and upward. Our next item on the agenda, Jordan, you're up. Nelson,
They're doing manufacturing.
Nelson, you, okay, let's go, folks.
Yeah. Do I have control on this?
Pardon?
Do I have control on this?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Oh, we're trying to get, okay. We're trying to get your presentation up on the screen here. Jordan?
Okay.
Right. No, they might even, I think he just needed something now. He was willing to buy something now.
There it is.
Level the pictures.
It's very visual. Okay, perfect.
Jordan, you can move it along.
Yeah, okay. So I'm really excited to show you guys this tonight, and it's very visual, but I'm gonna try to go as quickly as I can because there's a 3-minute video at the end. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you guys, an update on the youth center and what we've been doing for the past 9 months. I think the last time I was here was in January. I can't remember. But in March, the Youth Center was awarded the Program Excellence Awards from the BC Parks and Recreation. So this award really was to showcase municipalities' efforts in recreation, parks, and culture sectors that provide a higher quality of life for communities. And our community was chosen out of all of BC. So it's something that is really awesome and all really proud of. So also since January, we've received 6 grants for programming and staffing, and these included funding for healthy snacks and equipment, food security initiatives, a new garden bed, 2 for the youth center, and staffing. So during the lockdown, staff and I kind of thought about how we could keep people active and engaged because we shut down the youth center, and we did some research and found other communities doing these activities for families at home. So we started the Nelson At Home Adventures, and it got quite a bit of traction, and people were interested in it. And if we were ever to find ourselves in lockdown again, we'd continue with that also, just to provide those activities. So I will talk about reopening in September for our out-of-school programming. This is really good for our recovery efforts. It allows families to go back to work. It's flexible, it's inexpensive, and we are at a wait list of about 15 kids on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. So it's quite popular and very busy. And that's also with our Pro D-Day camps. So they're going really well, and we're following all of the COVID-19 protocols that Dr. Bobby Henry has laid out. It's really hard to keep kids from social distancing, so we're making our best efforts that we can. We've shut down high touch points within the youth center. So we closed the band room, we closed the art room, the maker space, but we've brought all of that stuff out. So it's in a wider open area. And the kids are loving it. They're tired every day. So starting in November, we'll be opening to offering the full suite of programming, but of course it's at reduced capacity, and everyone does have to pre-register. And when I say pre-register, they have to call and just ask how many people are in the building so that we're not over capacity. And because I don't want to see anyone come down and we have to turn them away, I'd be pretty upset if that was me in the wintertime. And then we have a couple new programs. So we've got one called Adventure Time for ages 0 to 5. So we can only hold about 15 families within the youth center, but we've gotten a lot of inquiries from the public if we were going to continue with this, and we're going to offer it 2 times a week. And we also have a Homeschool Hangout for the homeschoolers this year. So every program is going to be running at separate times with time in between to allow for sanitizing and cleaning. So we've already thought about a full plan and we're ready to go. The next slide is just some marketing and promotional stuff that we have. We are going to be doing the winter holiday camps this year, if everything goes all well and we don't see another lockdown. But yeah, that's what we got. There's our new mural, if you guys can see. It's right beside, it's in the Whitewater parking lot. And then our November schedule, which is pretty busy. But it's going to be awesome and everyone's really looking forward to it. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is we did start our beginner skate lessons, and it's great. The youth center is closed for this entire lesson, and the kids are distant, and there's about 6 of them, so we're going to be offering another class starting in November once our new coach is back. All right, so the Nelson Youth Action Network. So Sam, throughout the pandemic, she is the coordinator. She kept youth engaged and active. She was busy. She did challenges, a lot of outdoor activities. So these included the 21-day Yoga Pilates Challenge, the 10-day Outdoor Photo Challenge, Nature Bingo, Outdoor Photo Scavenger Hunt, Kilometer Club. And then she also provided weekly online drop-in group for youth to come discuss ideas, play games, practice mindfulness, and just hang out. Because we all know, like, a lot of kids were at home during the pandemic and it was quite hard on their mental health. So throughout the summer, Sam did a online 6-week photography course, scavenger hunts, foraging, back-to-school clothing swap, which was very successful, black and white film workshop, bi-weekly online workout groups, harvest rescues, and online under the umbrella. So for the fall, she's actually done quite a few of these, but we've just finished the boxing class, the fermentation class, and under the umbrella is beginning in-person sessions. So that's been running really smoothly, and that's in with Milo from Anchors. So they're working in partnership together.
Yeah, what is under the umbrella?
It's an LGBTQIA plus group meetup, and they do it every Tuesday in the dance studio. So, and I think there's about 5 or 6 youths. We've had to, again, condense it and lessen the numbers, but there is an additional day added. So that's how we can provide. Pardon?
It's been running for about 3 years.
Oh yeah. We've been running since the very beginning of Nyan starting. So the program's just expanded, and now with the help with Milo from Anchors, it's great. They're loving it. And now that they can meet in person, it's even better. So she's also wanting to do some pottery classes, and she wants to get in some motivational speakers to build self-confidence within youth. And there's some of her little promotional posters that she has. I'm excited about the hip-hop classes. So I'm going to talk about the campground. So we were open from June to October. We had, our total reservations were 1,874, and the total sales is 120,789. Those haven't fully come in, but our revenues were around $85,000 for the year. So there was no issues with COVID-19 protocols, and it was our second season with the campground hosts, which was excellent because they provided the nightly monitoring, and it was great. Everything ran smoothly this year. So for next year, I want to get new signage, and I also want to bring in rentable games and hammocks, because we got to play bocce there one day, and I was like, this is perfect. So it's a really, it is close to the city, but it is a fun place for people coming through for, a few nights a week. I mean, some people come every year, so.
How much does it cost?
It depends. So if you get a platform, it's about $29, $26, and then a full service is $45. So.
That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
No, it's average.
It's about,
yeah,
it's about right.
with what's, I don't know what Caslo or any other municipalities have, so it's pretty much on par, and we're one of the busier municipal campgrounds. Okay, so the parkade. So this year we have kind of installed some safety and security initiatives, and the lighting and the gate are complete, and it has been excellent. It's been cleaner since the gate's been installed. There's not as much complaints, and it's actually picking up now because with COVID, it kind of went flat there for a bit where no one was coming into town to work, so no one was parking. But working with Sebastian, we're going to be doing a new bike cage to be installed starting November, which will take up 3 stalls, and you can see what it will look like there. It's got some nice little mountain metal art, and it'll be great. And I will be coordinating all of the people who have the fobs for the bikes.
Is that design expandable? Like, could you make it larger if you needed more parking space?
We could, yes, but we would just have to add more. I guess you would take out the one side where you would come in, and then go further along the back.
Can you walk us through it a little bit? Like which floor is it going to be on?
So it's going to be on the first floor. The only way there was a Porsche there. Does anyone remember the covered?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's going in that area. So I figured it was kind of in the back, and it's on the first floor so that it's safe and people can come right from the stairs down straight into it. So.
So you charge for those spaces?
No. They will be renting the fobs. At this point in time, we haven't decided if we're charging for it. We did speak to the city of Calgary, and their bike parking is free for everyone who travels.
How do you sign up for
If you
a
want
fob?
a free bike parking, you go to Calgary.
Contact me.
If you want to pay, you stay in Knox.
Sorry.
So, explain the fob.
What's the fob thing?
What's the
Oh, the fob gets you in the
Yes.
gate.
Yeah. So you would
okay.
have to pay a deposit for the fob, and then you would rent a space essentially. And I think it holds about
Rental's free, but the fob's $1,000.
So if you don't get the fob, you can only access it during business hours? Is that what's going on? Or you have to have a fob?
You would have to have a fob. Yeah. In order to access.
We have a fob in this.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a rental of the fob, not just a deposit of the fob.
Oh, it's a deposit of the fob, but like you're utilizing the bike parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a pilot initially to see what that uptake is and whether we'll charge fees going forward. But now it's a pilot to see what kind of uptake we get.
Wasn't this it was an element of the
Yes.
active transportation?
Active transport.
This is the secured bike
secure bike
parking, so that people can, like bus into town or ride their bike downtown, or want a cab home and leave their bike downtown and not be worried about it.
Yep.
Just follow up because love bikes. How many charging stations? How many outlets?
Right now, there's none. I don't think. Are we doing the charging? Sorry, I've been working with Sebastian.
Well, I mean, the problem with the charger is that they're all different. So all you really need is the plug, but the issue with that is that the charger itself is not secured in any way, right?
Yeah,
So,
fair enough.
I know that the co-op bike shelter has a plug to charge your e-bike, and I've never seen anyone use it.
I've seen it used for charging a lot of things that aren't bikes.
Well, there is. So where that Porsche was parked, he did have it plugged in. So there's the ability to just have the electrician come in and have the ability to plug in an e-bike.
I think you might want to consider at least allowing that option. Like
Yeah.
I might have in a gated system where I'm already dealing with a small subset of people that are all bikers, and it's a particular day where I bring my charger in a bag or something, or if I'm coming in I'm thinking there's a few people that come in from out of town. But as this gets more
They're commuting.
used, just having the plug for that weird situation where you should have charged all week, but now your bike's down to the last 10%.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That looks great. Keep on going.
And then, of course, rate changes will be coming into effect in January. And then there's a lovely little portion of the mural that was put in beside the manifest one.
Love that one.
Very nice, yeah.
Okay, and then I'm going to talk about the Nelson Farmers Market. So, in total, we had 36 vendors, which seems kind of small, but they were returning vendors weekly. And that is not our final numbers. We've seen over 20,000 attendees. And, you know, it's been really good with the COVID-19 restrictions in place. You know, it's difficult to kind of, there was one entry, one exit. I mean, you guys were all visiting there. So staff worked really hard. You know, we've created the Nelson Farmers Market Advisory Board, which consists of 2 farmers, 2 business people, and 1 food vendor. And we've been meeting monthly, and they've been providing guidance for the operations of the farmers market. And of course, we started with the BC Farmers Market coupon program, and this year, I have a stat here, it provided over $41,000 in market coupons to go into the farmers market. Yeah. And then in addition to that, with a grant that I received, we took $1,500 of that and created our own coupon program to give out to people with low income, seniors, and yeah, just people with low income and seniors. And that was really well received. We actually worked with the Nelson Community Services on that, and they gave it to their clients. So they were pretty happy.
Can I just add that from the last year I ran it, what we did $24,000 in coupons. So they almost doubled
Yep.
the coupons going through the program, which is just awesome.
Yeah, my office was full of coupons. I can like count those faster than anything now. So, you know, running the market this year was a quick endeavor. It was fun. The staff have really gained some valuable skills, and myself included. I've learned a lot. And, you know, we've got a lot of ideas for 2021. We're going to be having reusable tote bags coming in, working with a marketing firm that local communities can put their advertising on it. And I think that with the staff that we have and just with what we've learned, we could run the markets again next year in 2021. So yeah, I guess that would depend on what we felt like here and how you guys want it to run for next year, but I think we could do a really good job. Also in November, there's going to be a survey going out to the public to talk about locations for the farmers market and give options to them so that they can have an input into where it will go. Does anyone have any questions about the market? Yeah.
What did the financials end up looking like for the market?
Oh, I think it was around 40,000. I just briefly looked at it the other day. Yeah.
So that was how much revenue got, or that's how much we spent?
Revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do we know how much we spent?
Probably about 15.
Okay.
I want to say, and that's wages and equipment and everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a lot of money spent on hand sanitizer.
Councillor Page.
This might be a kind of a dual question for Councillor Woodward and Jordan, but any sense, I know you guys have been allowing more people near the end of this year, getting more to what a normal market, at least for the Saturday, would have looked like. So in that context, you know, what would you have expected during a normal year now that we've operated it ourselves?
Vendor-wise?
Vendor-wise, yeah.
Well, in a normal year, I think it was 50 vendors.
Fluctuated kind of between 50 and
Yeah.
60 vendors, but they were packed, you know, incredibly tight, which is just can't happen. So.
Right. And so this year we had at most
36.
36?
About
Yeah.
half as many.
Okay.
Yeah.
2/3, yeah.
And when did we really swell that up? Was that September? August?
When did we?
Because it was
Yeah.
really tight at the start. Like we were
August.
really cautious. Yeah, August.
Yeah. So I don't. If you see.
Half right there.
Yeah, that's actually the number of people coming through to the market. But Saturdays kind of hovered around the same area. You can see that. But yeah. So, and I guess on a normal year, there wouldn't be, you'd have to follow the arrows. People could just come in.
Right.
There was quite a bit of support with having the entrance and having to go through the exit just because it provided that and people weren't cross going all over the place. So it worked out really well, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Woodward.
I just wanted to know how the infrastructure worked down there, the new oval. I know you couldn't use the stage, of course. But, just generally, did it work out okay?
Yeah, it was great.
Electricity and water?
Well, the electrical isn't in yet, but everything, there was really no complaints. I mean, it's beautiful down there. It's perfect for a market. And, they go get some lunch and go sit at the falls. And
Yeah, once you put the one-way system in, that helped a lot too, didn't it?
yeah, kept the flow of traffic kind of moving. And then, of course, we did have to have a couple of lineups at certain points when it got really busy because you could see it getting really tight within the market, but it worked out pretty well. There's some people who didn't want to, but then most people were really, accommodating to the COVID-19 procedures.
So just for council's information, like Councillor Woodward and I have been meeting with Jordan and some of the vendors. It's been a different group each time we've met. So we're really hoping that going forward that the ideas will be driven by the folks that actually are involved, like the vendors themselves, will be able to drive this agenda. And so far from what we're hearing, Jordan, there's been very positive feedback and how it's been managed this year. So,
Yep.
Councillor Page, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick one, I guess. The electrical getting hookup, I think, has been floating around for a bit. What do we need to do to hook up the electrical?
Yeah, so it's been in process. It's with one of the construction companies. It's just, again, it's not that easy to get an electrician right now. And so again, it's in process, I guess I would say. And again, now that it's getting close to winter and the market is closed, suggesting that it might not get done until spring, but it's in the hopper, I guess I would say.
Okay, thank you, Colin.
Yes.
Jordan, I know early on there was some talk about wanting to move the Wednesday market back up to Baker Street. So as the market rolled along through the summer, is there still rumblings of that or not so much? The numbers look pretty strong, and as I understand, there's not as many vendors on Wednesdays as there is on Saturdays, correct?
Yes, there's not as many vendors because they feel that the location doesn't meet their needs. They're not making enough revenue to be down there on Wednesdays. So
But they're there Saturday.
they're there Saturdays, yeah.
But they'd be there Wednesday if it was on Baker Street.
Yeah.
You have a hard time figuring that one out.
They get so much more foot traffic from downtown business people that are
Just
on
going
their
for
lunch and
Yeah, but if there's more vendors there, there's more people there. So be there and take advantage of more people. No? They're there Saturday.
It's the lunch rush.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
lunch
the
rush is
location's just
huge.
way better.
There's no lunch rush on Saturday?
Not
Not unless you're retired like you are.
I think that's true though. Like the amount of times I would go down and remember that today was the market day because you were moving about the office and doing things, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a market, and then you go out to the market. Like, yeah.
There will be a push for it to be back somewhere in the downtown core.
There will.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's,
There is a plan
yeah,
developed at the last meeting
Yeah.
for outreach, so I don't think we don't want to get into that detail now. We're going to reach out and
follow up.
Gordon and the committee have a plan for reaching out to the community, so.
I think too, it should be said that, we don't know what's happening with COVID, and
Yeah.
so this whole affair is going to be affected by where COVID's at and, what kind of crowds can be allowed and all. There's a lot of factors.
Mhm.
So I think it's just gonna have to wait and see, I guess.
Yep.
That was at the end of the meeting. That was sort of, we have to wait.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll do the survey and then go from there, but we just have to hold tight and wait to see what's going on in the world with COVID before we can really move forward with everything.
You're getting some good stats anyway,
Yep.
which is great, yeah.
And is there any talk of a winter market at
Yeah.
New Civic?
No, there was no talk of that. No. I mean, I can do it, but,
No, I meant from the vendors.
oh, no.
No, there wasn't
No.
much interest in that.
I do know there's a couple of markets coming up. There's an artisan one in the craft fair, but there was no mention of that. All right, so the last slide, I'm going to talk about the food security. So this year, because the youth center was shut down, we took on this initiative to have a food security ambassador within the city of Nelson. And there's Finley. He is our food security ambassador. You would have seen him at the Nelson Farmers Market. Finn has been awesome. He assisted with developing a new website. And when I'm done here, I'm going to show you the video that he created. We also, he has a couple of campaigns and ideas. So Lawns to Gardens and educational infographics on food security to be given to the public. So I would give these out at the farmers market to all the people that would come through. And then, of course, our Nelson Farmers Market coupon program, which if, we continue with the markets, I would like to look into further grant funding to get more coupons going to the markets. And then the new garden beds for the youth center, which will promote programming and education for the kids. So it'll provide snacks and healthy, nutritious stuff, and it'll look really nice.
He did a great job.
He did, yeah. He had really good marketing insights, and he even just how he helped brand the whole farmers market and the food security. It's been really well received. He's gone back to school. He went last week. So, but do you want to see the video he did? I just click on it.
Yeah, just click on the link.
Okay. Yeah, it's up on mine.
Oops.
Nope.
There you go.
Can you put that one down?
Put it.
Escape.
And then click on it.
Show up on your,
There you go. Now she's
it'll
got
show up on your iPad if you click the link.
There we go.
it. There, she got it. Okay.
Okay. So you'll recognize a few people from
And then you can just make it larger.
Yep. Perfect. Is there audio? There is on mine.
I can hear rumbling. No?
It's just on mine.
Can you put your... There it is.
Put the microphone to it. It's Kisos.
I would absolutely encourage anyone to buy their food locally from farmers. You're going to be guaranteed to get the freshest product that you can find, often at the best prices, and you're supporting the local community. And because we're within the community, we're really interested in trying to take care of this place too.
Eating season now is really important, especially in the Kootenays here. Summers are nice and hot, and so we get this plethora of nice warm season crops. And then the spring and the fall, we get these amazing greens with our colder nights. And so by eating local, you're helping support a system, and especially with all the organic growers in our region, you're helping each little ecosystem surrounding the farm, and our farm included.
I honestly think that the biggest problem small farms are presented with is the cost of food in general. If you go to a supermarket, food is really cheap. So it really helps that people are willing to buy direct from the producer and cutting out all the middleman, which actually helps the producer make a little bit of money.
Thing about having a strong, resilient local economy is really exciting to me, the way in which people could support local farmers more is by just trying to start that dialogue. Part of that's coming to farmers markets, part of that's coming or like joining a CSA box, but there are other options there too. You know, going to that local restaurant helps support the local food movement. Shopping at the co-op in particular is you're supporting local food in a number of different ways. And so it's a two-way street that is beneficial for everyone, really.
Very nice.
Very good. Very nice.
Nice work. So, have we done a share sponsor on our social media for that yet?
Not yet. This is the first time.
Okay, cool.
Anyone's seen it.
It's awesome. Great work, Jordan.
Yeah.
So that was Finley you did that?
Finn did that. Yeah. Yes.
Just want to say,
He did.
Wish I could have said that.
I want to talk to her.
Yeah. Oh.
So-
there goes my.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Jordan, I want to say thanks for your presentation. I can't tell you how impressed I am with how you operate, your entrepreneurial spirit, your can-do, and all kinds of adversity, that you work with all different groups of people. You've been put in tough situations. The city's lucky to have you, and it's been a very impressive year, especially in a time of COVID. And I really just think you need to be proud of the work that you've done.
Thanks.
It
You
gives
too,
us
Sebastian.
comfort, gives us comfort, Jordan, with the work that, everybody's done to pull the market through this COVID stage. And I think it took that kind of innovation to get it there. And Sarah played a big part of it as well, helping out. And we're lucky that the city had the resources to sort of step up and grab a hold of it and make it what it is. And now we're getting some real stats, which is kind of neat to see. And I was just looking there, if you could only get $5 ahead of everybody, there'd be $100,000 down there annually. So
See? Yeah, no, without Sarah, this is actually you. You started all this, so, and I'm just continuing it.
Group effort. Thank you. I guess I have a question on how we continue this good work, like specifically around the food security ambassador. I know we accessed some funding this year. Looks like we got some great storytelling came out of it. I got a really detailed email about food waste from Finley that I really appreciated to address the question, and then that looking for those linkages and those places to fill the gap so that food is flowing, be it through CSA box or back and forth with the food, like the couponing program sounds like being that expansion. Are we envisioning, or do we see a need for that staffing capacity going forward? It seems to me these problems are not solved in a year with one temporary position.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we were to continue with the farmers market, which I would like to see, then absolutely we would. The two kind of play in with each other, and I think it creates a really good opportunity for someone to coordinate the farmers market along with providing that food security initiative and working on programs. So, and of course, if it's a youth, it's just ties in the youth center and youth employment. So, yeah, we would look into grant funding to support all of this also.
Okay,
Awesome.
we good? Thanks.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, back. All right, Sebastian, you're up, my friend. You're becoming a bit of a regular around here, aren't you? Right? By the way, I got really good feedback from the community about your last presentation. So, just so you know, people are actually paying attention to what you're doing.
Which presentation?
It was the one about the downtown, what did we call it?
Recovery.
The recovery program.
Okay,
Recovery,
right, yes. Good. Well, I don't officially have a presentation, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions, or I can always give a quick summary of the report if council. Okay, sure, we can do that. So the question around winter patio was discussed initially with the Chamber of Commerce and their group. We had a check-in session in, I believe it was end of September. And, you know, all the restaurants had really positive experience with the patios, and they really appreciated that council waived the fees and allowed them to expand. So, again, I talked to this in my recovery summary. It was very much a game changer for the restaurants to be allowed to use that space. So we, at that point in time, were reading a lot about some municipalities that were entertaining winter patios, and so we asked a question to see who was potentially interested before we start exploring options. And at the time, there was a bit of interest. And we looked at different options. We talked to our different departments of public works, our building inspectors, the fire department, just to see, you know, what the implications would be of sidewalk patios. Ultimately, the goal was to really try and keep our downtown really vibrant, bring people out, and at the same time to kind of offset some of the restaurants that are really limited indoors. But in talking to the few patio operators that were interested, so the ones that are located on the street, so that are occupying parking stalls, there's 3 of them interested. But for them to make it really worthwhile, they really wanted to kind of create an enclosure, have the space heated. So really, it's in some shape or form, it becomes not so much a patio anymore, but more of an expansion to their business. And it's a bit trickier on the street because then, you know, sidewalk clearing, having plows come really close to some of these structures. I mean, some of them have invested a significant amount of money into them, and you know, Public Works could not guarantee that there wouldn't be any damage. Not so much a vehicle hitting it, they're not so concerned about that, but the amount of snow that they're going to push, and it's not always that nice fluffy stuff. Often it becomes really slushy, and then that gets thrown onto the patio. Not to say that there's no ways to deal with that, but essentially they would have to build up those structures. On the flip side, there's some operators that are in amenity spaces, and you know, part of it, it's, you know, the luck of being there. Part of it for them was they've chosen that space based on knowing that they had amenity space nearby. So in that case, I do see that it would be possible for those businesses to operate a patio without necessarily having all the complications of being located on the street. So again, I guess the report kind of spells out, you know, 2 options. One would be to allow them to be maintained on the street. I don't know if, I mean, I've walked downtown Baker, and all the patios are starting to get removed. So I think most of the businesses were saying, you know what, we don't think it's worth it this year. But some would still like to try it.
So Sebastian, I just want to stop you there for a moment, because when I read through the report, there's a piece where it says recommendation, and then at the very end of the report here, it says council received this report. So you're not looking for a decision tonight, right?
That's correct. It's more so to get a
introduce the ideas.
Introduce the idea and get a dialogue going and kind of gauge what, you know, where we would like to go. Because what's happening is that some of them that are interested in doing it, they're like, well, you know, we're supposed to be removing our patios at the end of the month, but we're interested in staying. So, you know, within the department, we can provide some extensions, but we can't allow them over the winter. That would be a council decision.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But that being said, I think from a staff perspective, I think at this point in time, we would recommend not allowing for the patios to be located on the street. For some of the reasons listed in the report, there's some costs associated. There's risk of damage, and we're just not convinced that they will be well utilized enough to occupy all that street space, and also to create a lot of complications in the snow clearing. On the other hand, I think it would be really interesting if we truly want to create a winter patio atmosphere. Would be more so to look at options for patios to be located in amenity space, also along the sidewalk. Smaller, something that can be potentially installed and removed pretty quickly, and that way, then a lot more businesses can actually try it out, see if there's interest, and I think that could potentially create more of a winter patio atmosphere than just having a few big enclosed patios. And then there's the question, I've provided a few links because we talk about keeping these spaces warm, and we're talking about we had this climate change workshop, and I mean, there's a reality there. People are going to want to be warm, and essentially if we do encourage them, we're encouraging businesses to warm exterior space. I mean, it's probably a drop in the bucket in the grand scheme of things, but I mean, it's still sending that message. So, if we are to go there, I think we're an outdoors community, and when these patios will be occupied, or after the ski hill closes, people are going to be coming down in their ski outfits, and I think that's probably the crowd you're trying to attract. And there's other options, such as there's these plugging blankets and different things that other restaurants are thinking about. So I think there's options there if council would like to allow for some patios to operate during the winter time. We could bring this to you in a package. Bring them all, whoever's interested. We would have to look at them on a case-by-case basis, and from there, the bylaw allows for that, and so that is kind of the option that we think would be best at this point in time. I think it'd be a different story if out of the 20 patios, there'd be 15 that would be interested in doing it. I think maybe then there's more of a case for it, but it's a fairly small number. So yeah, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Councillor Woodward.
So I think for me, as you're talking about this, I really have a problem with the street ones because of liability. If a snowplow goes by, clips the patio, there are people sitting there, and if something gets torn apart, who's responsible? Who pays for the damage? Are there people there that could possibly get injured? I just feel like there's a lot of liability there for the city, and people slip and fall and sue us. So I kind of feel like that for me is a big red flag. But the idea of amenity, where you're away from the street, the patrons are secure. There's not a snowplow going by blowing wet snow into their faces. There's ability to control the space. Seems like a fair piece. And the heating piece, I mean, if we're talking maybe 3 or 4 of those kind of patios and they're being heated, I think that's sort of manageable. But if you're talking like 10 patios all blasting heat, it's a huge amount of GHG. So yeah, I think there's maybe a pathway through here, but I really do worry about the liability on the street. It's quite concerning.
Yeah, and if we were to allow them, we'd have to have them sign some sort of a waiver, and we would work through that process to make sure that we're covered. Like in the summertime, they have to provide us a certificate of insurance. The city's name is an additional insured party. So those controls are in places, but yeah, it still wouldn't be great. You know, even if there's nobody there and the plow throws a bunch of heavy snow and
Smashes.
yeah, I think they'll be at a loss pretty quickly if something happens to their patios for sure.
Thank you.
Councillor Page.
Yeah, I'm very much supportive of the amenity-based winter patio, especially under a pilot, just to see how they work. They might work great, they might not. There might be better spots than others. The only thing I want to have clarity on, or give clarity and direction for myself, and I think there'll be some agreement, is I can get over a space heater, GHG producing space heater for a year during COVID as we try a pilot, because there's already one out there and we're just trying to figure things out and get through the season. But I would want to really provide that clarity up front that in a go forward position, we would be electric only entertaining for heating. There's the seat cushions. I thank you for your research. I think it was, seeing that there's a good solid product that can be used on the chairs that people might enjoy. I could envision that working really well.
Yeah.
And seeing that there's infrared electric heat that could work really well just to like bring people out into the early evening. Like, I don't think we're envisioning people really being out there at 10 o'clock, but 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, if that. Sorry?
Janice and I want to go out there.
Yeah, I
at
did.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, I was like, sir,
Fair
I said, this is Nelson. I'm not coming down till 9 to go out, so.
That's also a very good point, but I think I'd want to make sure people knew that up front, that like you're gonna be able to do this year, but don't invest too much in product that you're putting into storage, so that we're thinking more in that electric vein for 2022, 2023, if this is as successful as I anticipate it actually will be.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, currently the bylaw is silent on heating, and I've noticed that quite a few patio operators have propane heaters, and some of them actually are connected to natural gas, and we just didn't realize that, that they had the pipes running, and it's way cheaper. But so a lot of them already have the heating equipment, even just for the shoulder seasons. But I think it'll be something to look into in terms of if we want to really specify in the bylaw that if we're going to rent public space, then we might not want to have heating, or what kind of heating is acceptable. Yeah.
Councillor Lochtenberg, then Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, I obviously don't want to get into a debate here at this meeting, so I have a question, but I would really strongly discourage any gas heating at all. I think we start down that road, especially after we release our climate plan, and then to be like one of the first things we do is say, hey, let's heat the outdoors with gas. But I have seen and have used these electric blankets. I think it's a great alternative. You put it on your lap, and as long as that part of your body feels warm, you're tricked into believing you're comfortable.
As long as your blood's warm.
Yeah, as long as your legs and feet are warm. But I guess my question then would be, is this something that, have we done anything like this before? Have we looked at, is there anybody running an alternative heat? Because it sounds like we've got some gas infrastructure out there. Do we have has anybody tried this in Nelson?
To like an alternative?
I'm thinking of the alternative heating, because that to me seems like a big deal. I think the amenity areas are fine. Definitely agree off the street. But yeah, for me it's a non-starter if we're going to be heating with gas the outdoors. So is there anything we've done with electric? Do we know?
I don't know. Most of what I've seen, it's those propane kind of standalone propane heaters.
There's electrical heaters that I've seen in some places. Yeah.
Infrared ones.
Halogen.
Infrared
Infrared
lights.
Like
With on stands.
Like at the hockey.
Here in Nelson.
Okay. You can buy them. You can buy them through Home Hardware, but they're like the propane ones.
Right.
But they're electric, and it's a infrared light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
Having the rink.
Yeah.
So there's some precedence here.
Might not have the electric co-infrastructure.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I guess that would be second question.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you don't want people burning the chairs. Yes. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would agree very strongly with Councillor Woodward in terms of no patios on the street, just reliability and just the mess. And it's, you only have to sit around the council table for a few winters to hear how many complaints there are about the quality of snow removal downtown, and that it doesn't happen fast enough, or doesn't happen often enough, or the litany. I can't say that in my 9 years, and I don't know, Mayor, how many you've had, but I don't recall anybody really writing too many letters about how great the snow blowing or snow removal is in town. You know, you get the odd one. So I'm not in favor of that. I have to agree with Councillor Lockenberg that I'm not interested in having lots of those space heaters, whatever we want to call them, burning. I'm a bit concerned about the fact that we have some people that have gas lines. How did they get from A to B, or are these gas lines and they're just going to run the heaters like awnings off of the edge of their building? I find that. Sorry, I've got to get a new stand for my computer. So I'm a bit curious about that. I'm also just really curious about anybody who might be deciding that they're going to go ahead with this and are going to try to do some kind of infrastructure upgrades, and then potentially come back to the city for cost recovery if we go back to whatever status quo looks like in the future. And are we charging for the amenity areas, or is this going to be a continued no charge? Do we have a plan? Are we ever going back to charging for outdoor space or parking spots or amenity areas, or are we continuing on?
Yeah, that was made pretty clear at the beginning that this was a temporary measure, and that we would be reverting back to.
Yeah, the date in our
It's in the
stimulus
resolution
plan
we
was
passed, right?
2021. So in theory, in 2021, we would charge them. I know when I did ask the question to the businesses, they were like, "Of course, we prefer not to pay any fees." Just part of their concerns was we don't really know how this is all gonna work. We don't know if it's actually going to be busy. We don't know if we're going to run it. So, you know, they're just saying whatever fees would be, keep that in mind. But for amenity space, usually the fees aren't. Well, it depends on the size.
Yeah, so
the bigger you have, the more you pay.
Yeah, no. So supplemental, like I didn't know when the expiry date was, and so I just sort of thought that given the fact that normally patios and amenity areas sort of shut down now, as I see when you drive down Baker Street, most people have chained up their stuff and have put it away or knocked it down already to put into storage. So I didn't know what our policy was. I wasn't familiar with when the end date was, because I just assumed the end date of our complimentary patio and parking access probably expired on October 31st when patio time expired as well. I thought that was just a natural endpoint.
Yeah, and then because the bylaw stipulates that if the patio is going to be installed for a 12-month period, so those that would leave them until October 31st of 2021, they need an approval from council, and I think there's probably we can address the fees in that section because it's kind of a one-off.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Excuse me.
Careful what you say here. No? Parting this.
He's not going to stop.
I know. So I love the idea. I think definitely it gives John Mayor. I just think it's nice to be able to offer those exterior spaces. I agree with you not heating the outside with fossil fuels. It doesn't make sense. It's not what we're going for. Because it's a pilot, I think that potentially considering waiving the fees this year. I just think from a safety perspective, people are maybe more nervous to go inside, but they don't know how a winter's going to go. And I've worked at places where they have that outdoor patio space, and they might be able to, it might be full all winter, or it might be barely used.
Yeah.
And so, as we test it out, see if it works, see if it's something that we want to move forward with. I think, particularly most of these businesses probably still, are dealing with, what was happening in April and May for them. So by having a little bit of flexibility as we play around with something new, I think would be an appropriate measure for this year.
Yeah, and we'll have to just look at whether you can continue to waive those. We waived them because we didn't feel like we were going to get any parking meter fees.
Right.
So we weren't giving up any income. So we just have to be careful you're not offside on giving assistance to
Yeah.
business. And I think the other lens is how busy are we?
Yeah.
If we're giving a benefit to this one business and the business beside them is half empty, you might feel there's some inequities there. So, but I think we can come back to it. We'll look at that, whether you can or not.
I think the important piece here, in my opinion, is first of all, why are we doing this in the first place? Why are we having this conversation? Because we're having this conversation because, this is what I feel anyway, that we're looking at ways to help people through a tough time, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, there are areas of risk to the municipality and all of the taxpayers in the community, so we have to take that into account. And I think, I was just looking here, Sebastian, snow removal is about $3,000 a patio based on the ones that would stay open, I think you were saying. So,
Yeah.
If people knew what the requirements were from development services, an example, are you going to cover it, what the structure would look like? So the cost may be more than the value that the patio would bring in.
Yeah.
And if people know that, then they could make an informed decision as to whether they want to move forward or not. So they're clear that you're not, as far as council's concerned, that you want an alternate source of heat other than propane or whatever the case may be. I think if all that was laid out for the event, for the folks that want to develop their patios, then they could balance.
Yeah.
Want to look at somebody that would say, hey, I'm willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay the cost of doing that if that's what it's going to take to keep them in business. But I don't think subsidizing them is a solution
Yeah.
in this particular case. However, we should keep in mind that it may not be as easy going into November, December as it was getting through July and August.
Yeah.
September, so there's a bit of a balance there, and I think you captured it fairly well in your report, Sebastian, and you're fairly well in tune with the businesses as well. And so between now and the next regular meeting, maybe you could put some meat on those bones and bring it back for us to look at it formally, so we could make a formal recommendation as to what, to give you some direction so that you have some strength in when you're talking to the public and those that want to either go yea or nay, that you have something to work from rather than a sort of a mixture of ideas.
Yeah, and to your point, each restaurant has a different reality. Some of them, just their layout is making them. It's very difficult to even operate with, no matter what they do. So, where some are able to bring business inside, and it's not such a big deal. So,
yeah, if you look at the Grand, say, versus Backroads, as an example, the Grand has 2 or 3 rooms they can use for their people inside, whereas a patio is not that important to them, right? In this time of year, but other places it may be, And there is a couple, as you mentioned, Backroads, Baba's, and sorry, I forget the name of the restaurant. Yeah, like they probably could function.
Yeah.
Because they have that concrete, like stone wall around them, and
yeah, and they're not interested, right? They're saying,
right?
As soon as it got a bit cold, people were like looking at the patio, like, "No, we're going." And I think our area is a bit different than maybe Vancouver in terms of,
Weather?
Well, weather, yes, but in terms of, we've been a relatively safe, maintain low numbers. So maybe if that continues, people are a little more comfortable going inside. Whereas maybe if you're in the Fraser Valley, you're really wondering if you want to go inside or not. So
yeah, I mean, some of the things I happen to think we do a pretty darn good job of moving snow, but maybe we could look at that, Colin, and the downtown core and see if we can enhance that a little bit more so that the general public have more of an opportunity to patronize all of the businesses in the downtown core. maybe we could add additional forces for the same amount of money over the period of the winter that would.
We could give the businesses snowshoes.
Yeah, we give them all snowshoes, yeah, exactly.
I was just gonna say, Mayor, that's the one thing that's important that on Baker Street there, that as far as out front of the businesses, it's the businesses responsible for that.
Exactly, and that's something we need to talk to people about as well. So going through COVID at this point, and I talked to Colin a little bit about this, is we should make more of an emphasis on making sure that people understand that in front of your business, you're responsible for removing the snow at a certain time. And that doesn't mean if it continues to snow, you stop doing it for that day, because it really helps everybody. It's about us all being part of the solution here. We'll do our part. We'll enhance that, to do the best job we possibly can. But it'll be important for every one of those businesses to make sure that you step outside and clear the sidewalk, make it easy for people to get downtown, buy their goods, patronize them, and support them over the winter.
So to that point, just as the only one with a business downtown other than Cal, I guess now, is can we get a little bit more aggressive in terms of handing out notices, whether they're bylaw infractions or not? Like, I think we do a great job with garbage and being, hey, you've missed something, you've forgotten. Because I do think there's an expectation that because the city does get out and do it.
Yeah.
I've seen guys hustling around there, maybe not around my block, cleaning things up, and then people don't think they have to. Yeah. And then you actually hear people are like, oh, the city does that.
No,
I shouldn't have to, because I do that organization for the coldest night of the year, and like you go talk to the business and they're like, oh, this city does that. I don't have to clean that up. And I would love to get a sticker when I miss it.
Yeah, it's a great that you bring that up, Councillor Page, because that's certainly something that in working with Public Works and bylaw, I really want to get out to the public. I mean, obviously we want to educate first and then we'll remind, but yes, lastly, we'd want to have to ticket. But getting that information out to people to understanding whether or not that's, I understand if it hasn't snowed for 2 weeks, the odd even doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but we get a snowstorm coming through, you need to follow the odd and even. If you don't, we're going to have to start finding ways to make sure that we can motivate you to change your habits. But again, always on the educate first and then remind. But I think for the safety of our crews, for the safety of our pedestrians downtown, again, just overall upkeep of our community, right? Yep. So again, we're going to try to get in front of that, educate, get out on the radio, I think, work with bylaw. And I just would also ask that Mayor and Council is aware, because you may get some phone calls about, hey, I've gotten this reminder and what's that all about, but just that it's great that you raise it, and we really hope to this year to kind of change how we've sort of operated in the past.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Councillor Woodward.
So maybe there could be like a full campaign developed before winter, before the full winter, of just like, because of COVID, let's keep the downtown core clean.
Open.
And it's a give and take. Businesses do this, more people will come down.
Totally. Great, Councillor Woodward, but it's not just downtown. We need people, certainly in speaking with Public Works and some of the snowplow drivers, it gets dangerous for them and people are just not following the rules. Okay. And so again, it's about educating people, and so that if you know about it, then please work with us, because if not, then we'll have to take other actions that we don't want to take.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's supposed to be a heavy snow year.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks very much, Sebastian.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Okay.
Thank you. You've been here all day, Sebastian.
Anything from council? Janice?
Sorry.
Thanks, Sebastian.
I just wanted to bring up one thing, and it's just about our schedule going into December in terms of our council meetings, and I'm just wondering if we could perhaps have a discussion about moving the cow out of the week of Christmas. Not that any of us are particularly going anywhere, but I'm also trying to think of our presenters who might have other obligations, or I mean, obviously we can travel around the province, so people might be going off to visit friends and family within the area. And my understanding in talking with the corporate officer the day, due to COVID, we won't be having the annual reception this year, which was scheduled for the 14th. And so that frees up that Monday, and I just wanted to bring forward whether or not we could have some contemplation about perhaps moving the cow meeting of the 21st, Monday the 21st, to the 14th. And we kind of have to have this discussion earlier because of the legislative requirements. The corporate officer would have to post a change of date of meeting. So I don't.
I'll second that.
I'll second that motion.
I'll third it.
When would that leave us with because keeping in mind, the cow is only one part of what we do, right?
Right, but I mean,
So-
it's probably a fairly late agenda on that.
Yeah.
Because
but
we don't
any-
normally do a lot of
When
business.
do you think we'll be meeting again? Because we haven't done that calendar yet.
January 11th is the first, I'm proposing the first regular meeting in the new year.
So that's almost a month. But, I mean, it makes sense.
It's just, I was kind of thinking that, that Friday is the holiday, and I mean, on Monday, we're gonna have a meeting. I just like, Christmas Day is on Friday, that I think that trying to bring in delegations to give presentations and
No, you're right. So you're suggesting we move it
it's
to,
just moving it to the 14th. I mean, we were gonna be having something that we were all gonna be obligated to the 14th for the annual reception. We're not having it. I think it just frees up.
how is
I
how
think
is the
we had
rest
3
of
people.
council with that?
We had 3 people seconded.
All right, you're okay with it? All in favor? Thank you. As long as you're not moving St. Patrick's Day, I don't care what you do. Whatever you want.
Get rid of that altogether.
Anything else? We okay? Motion to adjourn?
Me okay.
Moved by Councillor Page, second by Councillor Renwick. All in favor? Carried. Now, we still had to finish up that